At the beginning of the Infinity Castle arc, we see Kamado Tanjiro falling onto the ground of the building. However, he is unable to correct his posture in time to avoid the crash. Just then, Kiruu helps him by grabbing him from behind. As Tanjiro starts thanking him, demons suddenly attack from the other side. At that moment, Kiruu and Tanjiro slice them up simultaneously before quickly moving to the next location. Meanwhile, we see Obanai protecting Mitsuri from demons. On the other side, Himejima and Tokito are running through the Infinity Castle, talking about how grateful they are to Ubuyashiki. They also express their anger and determination to take revenge on Muzan. Meanwhile, Sanemi sits on the ground in disbelief. As demons start entering his location, he furiously slashes them down, tears streaming down his face as he promises to get his revenge. Elsewhere, Zenitsu, Inosuke, Genya, and Shinobu are running in different directions. However, Shinobu has the worst luck. She ends up facing Upper Moon 2, Doma, all alone. As he sees her, he smirks and mockingly says that he needs to thank Nakimi for sending a girl to his place. Shinobu begins remembering her sister's final wish, where she asked Shinobu to leave the demon slayers and find happiness like any other girl. However, Shinobu refuses, promising her sister that she will take revenge because she can't live knowing the one who did this to her is still out there. She then starts asking her sister to describe the demon who did this, and as her sister describes him, Shinobu immediately realizes that the demon in front of her, Upper Moon 2, Doma, is the one she's been searching for. As Doma begins to introduce himself, a woman starts crying out for help. When Doma attempts to silence her, Shinobu intervenes, saving her from his attack, but it's already too late. Doma then reveals his weapon, a pair of sharp fans, and continues his introduction, asking Shinobu if anything is bothering her. That's when Shinobu, for the first time, shows an angry expression and tells him that he's the one who killed her sister. When Doma recalls her sister, Shinobu attacks him, aiming for his left eye. However, Doma mocks her, saying she needs to cut off his head instead. At that moment, Doma feels something strange. Shinobu had poisoned him with her first attack, but he's able to decompose the poison. He smirks, telling her that this fight is going to be fun. After Shinobu tries 5 different poisons on the Upper Moon demon, Doma, none of them work because he can genuinely decompose every poison she uses on it. That's when Shinobu attacks him again, causing Doma to comment that she's fast, probably the fastest Hashira he's ever met. However, Shinobu is hit at the same time, losing a lot of blood. Doma laughs at her, telling her that she should just aim for his head instead of using poison. Shinobu begins to blame herself for being so tiny and not being able to grow any taller, thinking that her sister knew she couldn't win against him but didn't tell her. As she starts crying, her sister appears in front of her, urging her to push forward. Even when Shinobu makes excuses, her sister tells her to stand up, to do whatever it takes to win, and to fulfill the promise she made to her and Kanao. With renewed resolve, Shinobu stands up and faces Doma. He questions whether she's human, as normal people wouldn't get up after receiving so many slashes. But Shinobu uses her breath technique to move swiftly in all directions, making it difficult for Doma to read her attack. In that moment, Shinobu strikes from below, pushing Doma into the wall and aiming for his neck. Shinobu begins remembering her past, how a demon killed her parents and tried to kill her as well. However, Himejima arrived in time and hunted down the demon. It was then that Shinobu realized there were people willing to protect others' happiness from demons. She made the decision to join the Demon Slayer Corps as a promise to help others. We return to the present moment where Shinobu aims for Doma's neck. As she attacks, she remembers when Tanjiro asked her if she was angry. The truth is, she was. Her parents, sister, and students all died because of demons, and because of that, she cannot accept them. Once again, Shinobu fails to cut off Doma's head, and the poison doesn't work either. She collapses to the ground. Doma hugs her, mocking her, as he tells her she's better than her sister and that she worked so hard. Just then, Kanao arrives, but it's too late. Doma begins absorbing Shinobu into his body, and she screams as she attacks him. However, Doma overpowers her and continues to absorb her. This triggers Kanao's anger. Meanwhile, on the other side, Zenitsu finally finds what he's been searching for, the Upper Moon 6, Kaigaku. While Tanjiro and Kiruu are searching for Muzan's location in the Infinity Castle, the building tries to separate them, but they remain together. However, a crow arrives to inform them that Shinobu is dead after her battle with Upper Moon 2. Tanjiro is shocked and starts crying, while Kiruu continues analyzing the surroundings, focused on their mission. For the first time, we see the new Ubuyashiki heir, along with his 2 sisters, managing the battle behind the scenes, giving orders to the demon slayers. Meanwhile, we return to Zenitsu, who is facing Upper Moon 6, Kaigaku. As they begin talking, Zenitsu asks Kaigaku why he chose to become a demon. He also brings up how their grandfather ended his life after learning that his student Kaigaku turned into a demon. However, Kaigaku doesn't care at all. In fact, he seems pleased about it. This response triggers Zenitsu, and he begins disrespecting Kaigaku. In retaliation, Kaigaku attacks Zenitsu using both his breath and blood demon art techniques. But Zenitsu is quick, appearing behind Kaigaku and slashing him without Kaigaku even realizing it. Zenitsu calls him trash and glares at him with a serious expression, something that makes Kaigaku realize that Zenitsu has become a completely different person. As the battle between Kaigaku and Zenitsu continues, Kaigaku gains the upper hand. He dominates the fight. Zenitsu begins to fall through the Infinity Castle, his vision blurring. In that moment, memories from his past resurface when he was just a student. He remembers how Kaigaku always hated him, and although Zenitsu felt the same, deep down, down, he still respected Kaigaku from the bottom of his heart. He acknowledges that Kaigaku was special and important to their grandfather as well. Zenitsu decides that this is where their paths must finally diverge. He whispers a quiet apology to his former brother-in-arms. With newfound resolve, Zenitsu unleashes a technique never seen before, the 7th form of thunder breathing. In an instant, he beheads Kaigaku, so fast that Kaigaku doesn't even see it coming. As his severed head falls, Kaigaku refuses to accept this ending. He bitterly claims that their grandfather must have had a favorite, a student he secretly taught a hidden technique to. However, Zenitsu, falling to the ground as the poison begins to take over his body, responds, "My grandfather wasn't that kind of person," he says. "This technique, I created it myself, hoping that one day I could fight alongside him." As both Zenitsu and Kaigaku falling inside the Infinity Castle, Kaigaku refuses to accept that Zenitsu was able to create a new thunder-breathing technique, and, even worse, that he lost to him. However, Yushiro arrives at the scene, mocking Kaigaku for dying alone against someone he always considered weak. Yushiro rushes to save Zenitsu. At that moment, Zenitsu finds himself in a vision where he meets his grandfather. He immediately apologizes for what happened to Kaigaku, believing that his grandfather must hate him for it. But his grandfather simply calls his name and tells him that he is his pride and joy. We then see Yushiro and the Kakushi working tirelessly to heal Zenitsu. Yushiro explains to him that Kaigaku was a newly turned upper moon and had not yet mastered his blood demon art, making Zenitsu incredibly lucky to have won the fight. Meanwhile, Kamado Tanjiro continues searching for Muzan when suddenly Akaza appears. At the same time, we see Muzan transforming into a massive ball of flesh, absorbing Tamayo into his body. Trapped and helpless, Tamayo clings to the hope that someone will come to save her and take Muzan down, but no one arrives. When one of the Ubuyashiki girls begins crying, mourning her family that was murdered by Muzan, the new Ubuyashiki leader firmly tells her to stop crying and focus on winning the battle. Meanwhile, Tengen and Rengoku's father stand guard, protecting the remaining Ubuyashiki family members from demons. Elsewhere, Urokodaki watches over Nezuko as she sleeps, ensuring she is safe from Muzan. Sweat pours from her body as she endures the immense pain caused by the medicine that is meant to turn demons back into humans. Urokodaki senses that this will be the final battle, one that will determine the fate of the Demon Slayer Corps. Back on the battlefield, Tanjiro swiftly dodges Akaza's attack and slices off his left hand. Akaza retaliates, launching another strike, but Tanjiro evades once more and slashes his head. Kiruu watches in awe, realizing just how much Tanjiro has grown, his skills now rivaling even the strongest warriors. Akaza, unfazed, acknowledges that Kyojuro Rengoku was right about how strong Tanjiro can become. He declares that he will show his respect by fighting, seriously activating his blood demon art. Kiruu and Tanjiro start attacking the Upper Moon 3 Akaza at the same time, but he easily dodges their moves. And when Akaza lunges at Tanjiro, Kiruu swiftly slices off his hand. Akaza regenerates instantly and delivers a powerful kick to Tanjiro's face, sending him flying away. Then he turned to Kiruu and asks for his name, but Kiruu coldly refuses, stating that he hates demons just as much as he hates talking, and continue fighting, but Akaza persists, continuing to ask for his name before suddenly kicking him away. Turning his attention back to Tanjiro, Akaza engages him in battle while reminiscing about Kyojuro Rengoku. He claims that it was a blessing that Rengoku died that night because he would never have been able to grow any stronger, and that what make Tanjiro, filled with rage, yells at Akaza to shut up. However, Akaza continues speaking, expressing his disdain for the weak and how they make him vomit. Tanjiro firmly declares that the strong must protect the weak, and the weak must become stronger to protect those even weaker than themselves. While Akaza's expression darkens as he grows visibly enraged by Tanjiro's words for a reason that we will find out. As Akaza grows furious over Tanjiro's words, a mysterious voice suddenly echoes behind him, repeating exactly what had angered him moments ago. Instinctively, Akaza swings his fist to attack, but there is no one there. Tanjiro watches in confusion as Akaza punches the empty air, his rage intensifying. Enraged, Akaza refocuses on Tanjiro and launches a relentless assault. Akaza dominates the fight, overwhelming Tanjiro with his speed and power. Desperate to find a way to reach him, Tanjiro begins thinking of a new strategy. When he finally executes the dance of the fire god, his blade barely grazes Akaza's neck, even though Akaza had managed to dodge the attack. Meanwhile, Senjuro prays for Tanjiro and his late father while writing a letter about the deep connection between Yoriichi and the Rengoku family, but the letter has yet to reach Tanjiro, as the battle has already begun. Akaza grabs Tanjiro's sword and attempts to snap it in half. Tanjiro retaliates with a fierce headbutt and a powerful kick, but Akaza refuses to let go. Just then, Kiruu re-enters the fight. Kiruu finally awakens his Demon Slayer mark, and as he attacks, he manages to cut a small portion of Akaza's neck. Akaza quickly realizes that Kiruu's speed has significantly increased since the mark appeared, but he refuses to back down and continues the fight. Tanjiro watches in awe, noting that both of them are incredibly fast, yet Akaza is still able to match Kiruu's speed. Determined to help, Tanjiro begins analyzing the battle, searching for a way to join the fight effectively. He recalls Akaza's words, which strangely align with Inosuke's explanation explanation of sensing.